It's the RJ Ochoa Show on 94.1 San Antonio Sports Star. What's going on in Jerry's world? What's the latest from Cowboy Camp? Find out right here, Friday mornings at 7:30 and 9:30 with the manager and editor-in-chief of Blogging the Boys, RJ Ochoa. Here's Robin Rudy.
It's the RJ Ochoa Show. We are the RJettes. Are we the what are like the Danettes? So that's who we are. I'd like to welcome on the show RJ Ochoa, the suit in charge, the potentate, the head guy.
The RJ Ochoa Show. I whatever. It's cool. How you doing, RJizzle?
Great to be with you guys. I guess I'm Mickey. One of you's Donald, and the other is Goofy.
There we go.
So you guys can kind of figure out who's who amongst yourselves.
It's pretty self-evident, I think. Nice shirt.
What is that? Oh, hey, hold on now. I'm checking everybody at the door. All right, I'm the bouncer. Even though I was never a Spurs fan until I got in the radio, but I'm the bouncer. So RJ Ochoa, for those that's not watching on YouTube, is wearing a Spurs shirt. Now, let me check your resume. How long you been a Spurs fan,
the bona fides.
I feel like this is a bit of a looking under my own.
It kind of is
own house sort of thing. Yeah.
Okay. I'm just making sure.
I've worked Spurs games for this radio station.
Yeah. He has his bona fides.
Okay.
He's not a bandwagon type.
Hey, RJ, everybody gets patted down.
Right. You're getting patted
down. Every male, turn around. Let me pat you down.
You went to the detective.
It don't matter. Yeah.
Come on in. Grab your stuff out of the little cup. Grab your wallet, your phone. Come on in. You're in.
I'm not above admitting that this shirt went through a less common circulation than others over the last few years. But
it was at the bottom of the drawer.
Yeah, my excuse was it's black, and so my dog's hair gets on it.
Yeah,
that's why I don't wear it. You know what I mean?
Which is indeed a challenge, if that is in fact a real reason. I buy it having had a white dog.
I mean, we're talking about this. Of course, we join you to talk about Cowboys, but this is the biggest story in sports. Wembanyama being the best prospect of all time, according to Woj, in any pro sport. So we had to ask you about Victor Wemby.
Can he play wide receiver?
If he could, watch out, CD Lamb. But I think the biggest story is actually the Roo Pub. I mean, goodness gracious, y'all pour one on, it looked like, and T's and P's for the open.
You mean our latest viral video?
Yeah, we're viral, by the way.
We went viral on that.
I know you did. I've seen it everywhere. I've seen it 18 times and 18 different places.
And every time I say it, I feel like one of the parents in the Geico commercial that I just bought a home and I've become old. We went viral, RJ.
You really did.
We actually did.
It was beautiful.
Let's talk some football real quick.
San Antonio.
We've got the collective Cowboy $16.7 million in the bank, itching to be spent. Where's it going to go?
Position. You don't have to go player. Let's go position. Give me the top 3 positions that you would spend the 16-7 if you were talking to Steve and Jerry.
It's worth mentioning before I answer the question that we're about 2 weeks away from June 1st.
Mm-hmm.
So you've got some Zeke Elliott money coming too around the corner.
Oh, that's right.
So we're not even. I didn't know that wasn't counted into that. So there's like 26.
I mean, it doesn't become available to you until after June 1st, because otherwise, you could manipulate the situation and whatever. But,
so there's more money in the bank than I thought. So with all of that,
I mean, they got to sign their rookie class. That's a handful, right? That's getting a Dairy Queen Blizzard and they turn it upside down. Like, it's got to.
Well, didn't they sign them all? Aren't they all in the boat?
Well, yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, it takes up cap space.
But the number that I bring up, 16-7, that doesn't include Zeke's money that is imminent, and it also doesn't include a little bit of money that's going out.
It depends how quickly they're processing their rookie contracts, but it doesn't include Zeke.
Okay,
that's the important thing. They do keep some for a rainy day, which sounds boring, but last year at training camp they signed, Cavante Turpin, Anthony Barr, Brett Maher. 2 years ago at training camp, they signed Malik Hooker. So those things do develop.
Oh, good point.
If you do have to kind of throw it at a position, interior offensive line help, you know what I mean? That could surely be something. I think there's a lot of people who wouldn't mind seeing another wide receiver. if you do want another running back, they're going to forever tease the Zeke thing until it's not.
What about Dalvin Cook?
If he becomes available, I mean, that's the name. It's, you know, you can miss me with that personally. I mean, we've gotten out of the wilderness. You know what I mean? Like, we've left all the meetings and everything. Like, we're finally free. We don't have to do this anymore. We don't have to chase the big name running back. I mean, last week everybody signed up for Deuce Vaughn jerseys, and now because Dalvin Cook might be available, we're all batting our eyes. But
you know, it's funny, RJ. It's funny because this is why I love you, because there's just certain things about Cowboy Nation that drives you insane, and I love when they're under your skin. You know, because remember after the draft and everybody was mad about Mozzie, you were so pissed. And then now that it seemed like Dalvin Cook, as soon as Rob said it, your body language just changed. Like, dude, don't talk to me about Dalvin Cook. Like, stop.
I mean, look, Dalvin is a talented runner, talented player, but you know, let's relax, let's chill. Like, and you know, we don't have to do the thing that we accuse everyone else of doing. Like, if and when Zeke signs with another team, that team's fan base is going to talk themselves into why this is a great idea. We don't have to do that with Dalvin Cook.
Right.
I mean, have you guys ever drafted Alexander Madison on any of your fantasy teams? No. And that's the dude who the Vikings would rather have than Dalvin Cook. You know what I mean?
Wow.
And so that's an important thing to consider. And I no disrespect to Alexander Madison, not Alexander Skarsgård, the guy buying you know, Waystar Royco in Succession. But anyway, I'm out on Dalvin Cook. I mean, there's really not a lot, I think, that is like massively going to happen with that. But I mean, they do still have a Trayvon Diggs deal to figure out. Not that will take up an enormous amount of current salary cap space, but they have that. They have CeeDee Lamb waiting in the wings. They still have to do a Dak Prescott extension if they're going to do that. Now, to be clear, the Dak extension would actually alleviate more salary cap space if they're going to do something else.
Right. But it would also show that they're committed to him, which you broke here. Well, not broke, but you were the first to bring it up on a anywhere that I could remember that, hey, if they do redo Dak, that gives them some commitment. If they didn't, that allowed them to wiggle out of that contract next year. Would you handle kicker like we handle fantasy kickers, RJ? Like, all right, it's your turn this week. Next week it's your turn, or is it something that you feel like they need to address and really like lock down and get in the room and figure out, or let's just go fantasy on this thing?
I once spent like 30 minutes of an episode of The Blitz moaning and groaning about this. I wrote like a 1,300 word article a few years back about Dan Bailey. And obviously Dan Bailey was a great kicker, but Dan Bailey, as his career wore on, started to suffer back injuries. Mm-hmm. And my argument was that Dan Bailey is being used on kickoffs. Why are we doing that? How many points are scored on kickoffs? Like, why are you wasting Dan Bailey's energy on kickoffs? Mm-hmm. Why not handle that with someone else? We can, you know, to your point, we could sit and joke and cast it off and say it's not a big deal, whatever. It's one of the very, very few, very precious positions that gets to score points. So it has to be treated with the utmost, like the team with the most points wins. You know what I mean? Like, you can't be.
So you taking this serious? You think that? So then, then why haven't they signed Robbie Gould?
Right.
What's the holdup?
I mean, they need $17 million in salary cap space. You know, you don't know how much Robbie Gould's asking for on the open market. I mean, that feels too obvious to not happen at this stage, at this juncture. But look at who they've worked with, you know, in terms of while John Fossil has been their special teams coordinator. In 2020, when he took over, he wanted his guy, Greg Zuerlein. He held on to him through 2021. Compared him to Tiger Woods, compared him to Michael Jordan. That was stupid. That was dumb. Never made any sense. In 2022, people forget this time a year ago. Do y'all know who the Cowboys kicker was that we were guessing up and hyping up?
It was somebody that almost hit me in the face with a missed kick. I was at Cowboy camp and he almost hit me in the face with a missed kick. I don't remember his name though.
Well, the Cowboys did cut Greg Zuerlein or move on from Greg Zuerlein in the offseason last year and toyed with bringing him back before the Jets picked him up. They did not draft a kicker. Instead, they signed Jonathan Garibay out of Texas Tech in undrafted free agency. And that was the big plan. That was the big, all right, we got this. And then, he almost hit you in the face in Oxnard, and everything was falling apart. And they got Brett Maher back. I mean, I feel here because I advocate for Brett. I mean, he had a horrible end of the season, but he was a very good kicker last year. But man, it was so dumb. It should not have worked out the way it did to bring him back. I mean, Brett Maher saved them. They treated that position with such cavalierness throughout the entire year, and it almost bit them in the face. They didn't lose because of their kicking situation, but yeah, you got to take this seriously. I mean, it is a position that scores points.
Well, then, Rob, I guess we'll stop. Go ahead.
You know, when you talk about tight end, what exactly are we looking for? Consistency and comfort, or game-winning accuracy, guy that can go hit a 59-yarder to take their ass out of the fire? Because I feel like you can find a bunch of kickers that are going to hit just about all their 40-yarders and 89 to 95% of their extra points. And isn't that enough?
I don't remember his name, but the bad guy in the movie Tin Cup that Roy McAvoy is playing, like the loser that was his like college, teammate.
Yeah, the Tin Cup shooter, McGee.
Right. So like when they start off on Sunday at the U.S. Open on number one, he says like right in the fairway, and Roy McAvoy, Kevin Costner's like, oh, you're playing for par, and the guy goes, I'll take 18 of them all day long.
Yeah.
I'll take 18 pars for my kicker. That's a position, like, again, score points, but 18 pars is pretty solid. Like 18 pars is living a pretty high-priced, cushy life on the PGA Tour. So that's what I want from my kicker. I don't need you to be booting 60-yard field goals like Brett Maher. I just need consistency.
One of the tie-ins I had from the NBA playoffs, RJ, to the Cowboys is Jamal Murray. Had a fantastic season this year. He just went off last night. And what I wanted to remind Cowboy fan was earlier in the show was, after he tore his ACL, the Denver Nuggets gave him an entire year plus playoffs off. Michael Gallup wasn't given that luxury. And I feel like, for me, two of my guys, I feel like Malik Davis is going to be a stud, but we'll save that for another day. Michael Gallup, I think, will return to who we saw that got him paid. And this whole receiver thing will be for nothing. And now he's also back in the situation. Remember when he had Amari and CD? That's when he flourished. I think he's going to be back in that position this year, not so much pressure. And I think Gallup's going to have a hell of a year.
Well, I think it's adorable that you think Malik Davis is going to go off.
You see, why are you going to? You see, I knew we couldn't make it without fighting. Malik Davis, hey, mark the tape.
The legend.
May 19th, 2023, 7:46 a.m., Rudy J and RJ disagreed on Malik Davis. When he has 1,100 yards next season, I'm going to bring this up. But back to Gallup.
Way to say the time, Rudy, because I think this segment replays. Way to
break the fourth
damn.
For the next time.
Delete that, Edwin.
Anyway,
we'll act as if. It's okay.
Pacific Standard.
I think that's fair. I mean, it was so bad last year that it can't be that bad. So, and I think it's fair to say, people say like, oh, he's more of a Robin than he is a Batman. Like, you're right. Like, he's not even a Robin. Like, you know what I mean?
Damn.
Like, well, no, I mean, that's fine. You need three dudes. You know what I mean? Like, he's Chris Bosh, right? He needs LeBron and D Wade. Like,
you know what? That is a great application to what he is. He's Chris Bosh. You don't win without him, but you don't really realize he's on the field.
Okay, so then admit that Jerry and Steven made a mistake then. If you feel that way about him and you think that less of him, then you got to come on there and say, then Jerry and Steven made a mistake.
I don't think that's a mistake to be compared to Chris Bosh.
No, I'm talking about giving him the money.
I don't think that committing to Michael Gallup in a vacuum is a mistake, but I mean, I have spent and poured a lot of ink and wasted a lot of my voice saying how it was a mistake. I mean, last year, the horses they bet on were Michael Gallup, like literally just fresh coming off of the torn ACL. It wasn't like it had been 3 months or 4 months. Like, it had happened in week 17. It happened in the first week of January of 2022. That was the horse they bet on, and spit in the horse of Amari Cooper, right? So that was dumb in and of itself. Then they bet on third-round rookie Jalen Tolbert and expected him to come in and be the Messiah. And then they bet on Washington, who actually, I think, owns a horse.
Who?
So, I mean, like, those were the three dudes. So they were like, we got this. Watch. We're good. That was so dumb. And it blew up in their face. It was so bad that on Christmas Eve, when T.Y. Hilton made one catch, we freaked out. And we lost our minds because we had, had our expectations.
It was 3rd and 30. I mean, I get it.
It was.
It was 3rd and 30.
I mean, I like the comparison. I mean, Dak is obviously Jokic, and that makes, Michael Gallup his Jamal Murray.
My guy.
As you talk about what they say they are and what they are, there's a great article on Blogging the Boys you guys put out yesterday. Tom Ryle and Roy White. I hope you tip them. The article is the narratives of the Cowboys that have changed in 2023. I want to ask the question, are the Cowboys who they say they are as they've been put together now? Are they headed in the direction that McCarthy said they were headed, where Stephen and Jerry wanted to be? Do you think the Cowboys are who they say they are, and have they changed any narratives to reflect that?
A year ago, a really popular term that they used was glass eater. They felt like, to be frank, they were too soft against the Niners in the wild card round at AT&T Stadium, and they did get tougher. They survived. They didn't just survive; they thrived in 5 games without Dak Prescott. That was impossible for this franchise.
Right.
Did they win the Super Bowl? No, but they became a lot more tough mentally, physically, spiritually, emotionally, whatever you want to say. And they pulled that off. They went to the playoff. We discussed all those things, like the playoffs back-to-back years, double-digit wins back-to-back years, et cetera. They won a playoff game. They literally retired the greatest football player of all time, who they had never beaten. They did it on the road, and then did a short week after. They wore their Navy jerseys on a grass field, like they flew in the eye of the storm, and they thrived. And so, I think a difference in terms of who they are versus Cowboys teams in the past is they're not walking around saying we won the Super Bowl or we're going to win the Super Bowl. They've just become this, call it blue collar, hardworking team. Like, we're going to be better. Like, it sounds lame and cliche and boring, but they really are just getting better one day after another. And they're more sustainable. They're more consistent. And, that's who they said they want to be.
I think it's adorable that you feel like on Tom Brady at 78 years old and his worst team ever, they ended his career. I think that's cute. That's real cute that you feel like the Cowboys,
the last team he played.
That's real cute, RJ. RJ, that is such a reach.
You're giving Jamal Murray props for beating LeBron on the back 9 of his career too. So you can't have it both ways, buddy.
You know what? I'm gonna tip my cap to that. That was well played.
Served. You know what? Absolutely.
Rob, you know what? I'm tired of you always take RJ's side.
No,
you know what?
This one.
You know why? Because this is like your baby. Like, this is RJ's your Manu. You found him, you groomed him up, he became a Hall of Famer. So you always take his side.
Not always, because I disagree with what he just said.
Okay,
I don't think that the Cowboys didn't need to prove, because McCarthy told us they're going to run the football. They're going to run the ball. We're going to be defensive.
I don't believe him, by the way, and I
they've
love
invested
McCarthy.
in the defense. I'll give them. They're going to have that kind of defense. I have not seen to this point that they have done anything to prove to me that this is going to be a first and second down. Let's pick up 8 yards somehow and get our quarterback in 3rd and 2 in every possible situation. I haven't seen that.
I would only say here that I agree with Rudy, and that I don't believe him. I don't believe McCarthy.
Okay.
McCarthy said we're gonna run the ball, and then a week later they cut Zeke.
Exactly.
So
But they had to, RJ.
Where I think McCarthy is much more wise and more astute than people give him credit for, McCarthy knows who he works for. McCarthy knows how the Joneses built their football empire. McCarthy knows that his owners have a banner hanging in their building commemorating the NFL's all-time leading rusher that played for their team. So McCarthy knows what he has to say in public to get what he wants. And for what it's worth, if you are looking for ways that they, committed to running the ball, Luke Schoonmaker, their second-round pick. That's a high-priced premium resource. His strength is run blocking. They didn't draft any interior offensive linemen, but, they have talked all about different combinations and the way they can assemble the offensive line. Now the party line is our best 5, et cetera, et cetera. So, they have a plan. I just think that's where I think the narrative, for me, my narrative on them has changed. They are more deceptive. They are more discreet. They are not the team that literally shows you their draft board on the night of the draft and tells you about how smart they are. They have become functional and willing to kind of be humble in a lot of sense.
Do you agree with Dan Graziano of ESPN that the Dak deal gets done before the start of the season?
Yeah, because it would be really irresponsible not to. It'd be reckless to not do it. You'd have to wind up paying more. At this point, it should get done before the Justin Herbert deal. or the Joe Burrow deal. You already let Jalen Hurts be. You already let Lamar Jackson be. I mean, Dak is better than either of those quarterbacks.
It drove his deal up, right?
It's simple math. It's simple supply and demand. And that's why you got to get this Trayvon Diggs deal done. You got to get CeeDee Lamb done, because we can all very firmly acknowledge that CeeDee Lamb is not better than Justin Jefferson. But when Justin Jefferson gets paid like he's Justin Jefferson, that is going to raise the market. And that's just, again, economics 101. I mean, it's not, you can call it fair, unfair, not whatever, but if you have what I need, I have to pay for it. Those are the rules.
Well,
RJ Ochoa of Blogging the Boys stopping by for his weekly plans this weekend. Is it going to swing the clubs a little bit?
He's watching the PGA Championship like the rest of us.
Watching the PGA Championship on my phone. We're heading to Corpus for a day trip on Saturday to see some family. So we're going to go to and from with the kid tomorrow. So that will be an interesting day where we get some use out of his iPad on the road.
Hell yeah,
and
absolutely.
Then, we'll kind of figure things out. And then Sunday, sit back, relax, PGA Championship, NBA playoffs all weekend. Watch Rudy's Nuggets. I know you're not a Spurs fan, Rudy. It's been a fun week. Look, Nuggets are a good team. I mean, you should be proud of your squad. I mean, I don't know why you're upset about it.
I agree.
I
agree with RJ.
Attacked.
Always a pleasure,
always.
RJ, man.
My
Enjoy
dog,
the
I
road
love you, bro.
trip. And stay safe, man. We will talk to you next week.
Hugs and kisses to everyone.